One of the number one challenges that business owners that I coach tend to have is trying to scale their business, try to grow it to higher levels without them working themselves to death. And one of the reasons that they have this problem is that they can't properly train their new employees and transfer all of that knowledge and wisdom in their head into the heads of the people that they tend to hire. And so what this does is it causes a scaling problem. Eventually, the business owner is the only person who can perform these critical tasks, and so the business can't grow because they become their own bottleneck. So today, in this video, I want to give you 7 tips on how you can properly train the people that you hire in your company so that you can work on your business instead of in your business. My name is Jeff Schuster with Mechanics and Mindset Business Coaching, and I would love it if you like this video and you subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'm going to be putting out a lot of lessons for small business owners and entrepreneurs. So just yesterday, my wife and I ate dinner at the Cracker Barrel. Now, if you've ever been to the Cracker Barrel, you'll notice that on every table they have this triangle game. It's got 15 holes and it's got 14 pegs. And the idea of the game is that you jump one peg and you eliminate that peg. And the rules of the game is that you're trying to get rid of as many of those pegs as possible, or at least that's the objective of the game. Now, the rules that are highlighted in the Cracker Barrel restaurant are that if you get one peg left, you're a genius. If you get 2 pegs left, you're pretty smart. If you get 3 pegs left, you're just plain dumb. And if you get 4 pegs or more left, you're an ignoramus. All right. Well, my wife and I, we played this game and we got a lot of different results. We got a variety of results. Sometimes we get 4 pegs, sometimes 3, sometimes 2. And one time I did actually get 1 peg left. And I was trying to figure out the process to play the game and trying to work some logical trick on how to figure it out, because I'm an engineer and that's what I do. But I couldn't figure it out. You know, I got that 1 peg left one time and I don't know how I did it, and so it was hard to repeat it. And so you're probably thinking, well, Jeff, why are you talking about this stupid game at the Cracker Barrel? What does that have to do with scaling a business and training your employees? Well, that's a great question. So as leaders, especially small business owners, we've develop some level of success. That's why we're growing, and that's why we want to hire more people. But a lot of times we don't know what the source of that success really is. Now, it could be just random chance, just like the triangle game, and we just got lucky. And hopefully we hire new people and they'll get lucky too, but that usually doesn't happen. Or maybe there was some real method, there was this step-by-step process that we used, and that was the recipe for our success. Maybe we just have this great personality. Maybe we're in sales and we just know how to connect with people. We know how to ask the right questions, and we just connect with people. We're so charismatic, and that's something unique to us, and it's hard to hire and find somebody else that's that way too. Or maybe we're just smart. We're just very high intellect. Maybe we are real geniuses and we just know so much it's hard to get anybody else as smart as us to train them to do whatever it is that we do. Now, that could be true. That's rarely true. But here's what we do. So we hire a new employee, then we train them, we give them the best instruction that we know how to give them, and then they fall flat on their face. They fail. Now, a lot of times as an employer, it's easy to go and say, well, you know, I just hired the wrong person. It's not the right person. Yeah, I made a mistake. I hired the wrong person. That's not who I needed. So you keep going through this process of hiring, training, and failing. Hire, train, fail. Hire, train, fail. Now, there's a reason that process happens, and I want to go over why most of these problems, or where most of these problems emanate, before I talk about some solutions. It's called the communication challenge, and there are 3 communication challenges. And the first starts with you. Now, you're not saying what you think you're saying. In other words, when you're trying to give instruction, you have all of the information in your head, but what comes out of your mouth is not the same thing. And you don't know that because what's happening for you is it's your head, it's your mouth. You think you said all that you need to say, and I can almost guarantee you that you did not. So a new student or a new employee is only going to be able to hear what comes out your mouth. They don't know what you're thinking. They only know what you're saying. All right, that's communication block number one. Communication block number two is that they are not perceiving what they're hearing. So the words that actually do come out of your mouth, they're hearing those words, but they're not fully focused. Why? Well, because they're really distracted. I mean, in our modern day with phones buzzing and social media notifications flashing and stuff that's going on at home and everything else, people are just not focused on what you're saying. And it's not that they don't find what you're saying important or valuable. It's just the nature, it's our human nature to be distracted. And as more stuff enters our attention span, we get more and more distracted. So they're not even perceiving everything that they're hearing. That's obstacle number two. Obstacle number three is that they're not discerning everything they're perceiving. So even though they caught bits and pieces of what you said, they don't fully understand the context of the information that you're giving them, so they're just missing something. And a lot of times they'll fill in the blanks with maybe their own understanding, and they feel embarrassed. They don't want to ask you for clarification because it's like, well, you probably said something, and I was so distracted I didn't hear what you said, and if I ask you, you're going to get angry at me, and that's no good. So what tends to happen with new employees is they start filling in the gaps themselves, and that's where most of the problems actually emanate. So those are the three communication obstacles that happen in oral communication. Now, the problem with that is that most small business owners, that's how they train their employees, is through oral communication. And so unlike the Cracker Barrel game, where it's a game, you can win, you can lose, you can get 4 pegs, 3 pegs, 2 pegs, 1 peg. It's just a game. It's all fun, right? Your business is not a game. So you need to actually win a lot more times than you lose. And if you don't, you'll go out of business. So it's very important that you get this right. And so there's hope. I've got 7 tips that will help you better educate, better train your employees. In fact, you may educate them so well, they'll actually start adding knowledge and wisdom to your business that you didn't even have before you hired them. So here's how you start. It starts with the hiring process. So first of all, hire based on attitude. And this is the way that you do that. So attitude is really everything. Attitude is such an important quality, but it's so hard to figure out if a person has a good attitude when you're interviewing them for a job. And in fact, people's attitudes really do change based on life experiences and things that are happening in their life. So how do you find out if a new employee or a candidate has a good attitude? Well, here's a trick that us life coaches use. We call it button pushing. Now, as a life coaching client, what we do as life coaches is we will start pressing on different sensitive topics within somebody's life. And when they react to something in a way that's just kind of like blown up a little bit, we know that we've hit a soft spot, and that's probably something that we should be working on as a life coach. Now, here's how you can use button pushing as an employer. Now, when you're interviewing a new candidate for a job, almost in every case, they're lacking a skill in one of the areas that you want them to have. So if they're supposed to have this skill, but they don't have it, that's the thing that you press on the most. It's like, we want our candidate to have this skill, but you don't have it. So tell me, how are you going to develop that skill that you don't have? Now, there are one of 3 ways that they'll typically respond. The first way is they'll get defensive. They will react in a way that may even be like, angry. It's like, well, how dare you ask that? Or, of course I don't have that skill. That skill's not even important. so it's a defensive reaction, and that's probably not a person that's going to be very trainable. The second reaction is they will lie. They will bluff their way through that interview question. So they're trying to present their best self, right, in this interview, and they will pretend that they have that skill that they already told you that they did not have. So that's not good either. That's a work ethic problem, and you don't want that employee. The third way that they may react is with humility and integrity. They will say, yep, you're right. I don't have that skill. That's something that I'm lacking, but I would love to learn it. Those are the folks who are very aware. They know that they need to learn something, and they're willing to learn it. So hopefully that tells you how to get attitude in an interview with a new candidate. The second tip is that you need to hire somebody with good aptitude. Now, just like attitude, aptitude is not something people put on their resume. Of course, they have their education. They may tell you how many kinds of degrees that they have. That is how well they've achieved academically. That is not aptitude. What aptitude is demonstrating a thirst and a hunger for knowledge. They're curious. They want to learn. And this simple tip can help you understand if that person has that hunger and that curiosity. And that's just, are they asking questions? And when they ask questions in the interview, are they good questions? The better these questions are, the deeper these questions are, the more that you know that they're aware of the job, they've listened in the interview, they're engaged, and they're genuinely wanting to learn more. Those are the folks who will be great learners, and you can teach them a lot because they have the aptitude to learn. Now, the third step or the third tip is documentation, written documentation. I've already talked to you about the 3 obstacles in oral communication. You can eliminate a lot of these in written communication. Now, I know that some people are oral learners and some people are visual learners and some people are written learners. But once you put something down in writing, it solidifies it. It makes it more consistent. And you're guaranteed that whatever you wanted to say actually got put down on paper. You can read it, you can reread it, you can have somebody proofread it, but you can make sure that the words that you intended to say actually made it on that piece of paper. Add some illustrations. Make it very crystal clear what you're trying to communicate. Have somebody that doesn't know what you're talking about read it, and then tweak it however you need to, and add to it and build on it as your company grows and changes. So that's the third step, is documentation. The fourth tip is to demand feedback and criticism. Now that sounds a little harsh. It almost sounds like, wow, you're kind of mean if you're demanding something of your employees. This is something that just does not happen naturally. Employees, new employees especially, are not going to give you honest feedback. That's just the way it is. This also happens with customers. People do not want to tell other people negative things. That's just the way we are wired. So you have to pull it out of them. And this is how this works. A lot of times you'll convey some information and you just want them to give it back to you. So have them paraphrase it, feed it back to you. If they've missed some things, just gracefully instruct them on the things that they missed, but compliment them on the things that they got right. Another way is to just ask questions about, hey, we're trying to improve this process. It's not always the best process. What should we do to improve the process? When you're asking them to weigh in, you're getting their critical thinking skills working so that their brain is engaged in what you're saying. If you're asking them to improve your process, well, they have to understand your process before they can improve it, right? But it also pulls them in to your training, and you may even get some good ideas out of that. The fifth tip is to just be patient. As small business owners, a lot of times before we hire new employees, we've really worked hard to develop what we have, and we've practiced over and over whatever skill it is that we're trying to teach them and train them. Now, unfortunately, what happens with a lot of small businesses is they hire people beyond the time that they were supposed to hire them. So they're usually in a hurry to train them and actually get that new employee productive. Now, what that then causes is that you lack the patience to really convey the information that you need to and to train them and to make sure that they learn whatever you're trying to teach them. So here's what typically happens. You're in a hurry, you need to get something done. You really don't have time to train that new employee to do the job. So you just do it yourself. And unfortunately, this process keeps repeating because you never have time. So hopefully you can build this into your business planning, that you build up enough time or build in enough time to actually train your folks the right way. Because I guarantee you that your new employees want to learn, you want them to learn. Take the time that it takes to teach them the right way. And in most cases, you need to probably tweak your training process so that it's genuinely working. So let your new employees help you tweak that, just like I talked about in the documentation step. Now, the sixth step is to follow the learning process. Now, here's how the learning process goes. First, you do the task and they watch. The second step is they do the task, you watch, and you critique what they're doing. The third step is they do the task on their own independently, and you measure. And by measure, I mean you have some key performance indicator that is looking at whatever that thing is that they're doing. And if it's going wrong or going bad or the indicator's going the wrong direction, you have a discussion with them about what possibly could be going wrong, and then you correct it there. But the key with this learning process is that you don't take shortcuts. So you follow each one of these steps, 1, 2, 3. So you do it, they watch, or they do it, you watch, and then they do it independently. Don't go to that next step until they're fully ready. Now, the seventh and final tip is to empower your people. Even empower brand new employees, brand new trainees. And this is what I mean by that. Allow them to have input. In fact, encourage their input into your processes and procedures. Yes, they're brand new. Maybe they don't know everything that you're trying to do, but it's interesting how innovative some of the ideas can come from people who are completely outside of your company, outside of your industry. They can give you input that you would never think of yourself. And that's really the way that you start to grow these processes and grow corporate knowledge in your small business, so that your small business and the people in your business become better experts than you by keep adding to the knowledge base that's in your business. So hopefully you've learned something from these 7 ideas. And I wanted to revisit the triangle game, the triangle peg game. Now, it just so happens that I did a Google search and I did find some instructions on how to win this triangle peg game every time. And I've left the link to that, those instructions below. They're very well illustrated. They go step by step. They walk you through exactly how to play the game, how to win the game every time. And I followed those instructions, and I now win the game every time that I play it. So that is a demonstration that written documentation really can train you on how to do some complex tests, because I would have never figured out that game on my own. Now, one thing I want you to do is not tell my wife, because I want her just to think that I learned how to win this game by myself because I'm so smart, right? So I don't want her to know that I'm using this cheat sheet or these instructions. But hopefully for you, you've understood how documentation and following these 7 tips can actually help you start to convey the wisdom and knowledge and ability from yourself to the people that you hire, so that you can scale your business and work on your business instead of in your business. So my name is Jeff Schuster with Mechanics and Mindset Business Coaching. And if you want to learn a little bit more about how I coach my small business owner clients, you can always visit my website at www.mmbizcoach.com, and you'll pick up some great information. And again, if you like this video, go ahead and press the like button below and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would love to have you. And until we meet again, I pray that God blesses you and your business.